you would prefer the human race to endure, right?
Uh,
You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know.
This is some of the creepiest shit I've ever seen. This is Peter Thiel, tech billionaire, mogul, creep, generally speaking. And he's presented with a very simple question in the course of this discussion on AI and the future of technology. Is that should the human, species, population continue to go on, continue to survive, and not be left in the dust by some, grand tech overlord like freak dystopian society? And he's not able to give a straight answer on that. I've clipped together this bit of the interview. You'll see the build up into it in this, prime moment. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Very curious to know what you think about this, the future of technology, Peter Thiel, and all of this madness.
If AI succeeds, it gets so smart that it gives us the progress in the world of atoms, that it's like, all right, we can't cure dementia. We can't, figure out how to build the perfect factory that builds the rockets that go to Mars, but the AI can. And at a certain point, you pass a certain threshold, and it gives us not just more digital progress, but 64 other forms of progress. It sounds like you don't believe that, or you think that's less likely.
Yeah, I somehow don't know if that's been really the gating factor.
What does that mean, the gating factor?
It's probably a Silicon Valley ideology, and maybe in a weird way it's more liberal than a conservative thing, but people are really fixated on IQ in Silicon Valley, and that it's all about smart people.
Right.
And if you have more smart people, they'll do great things. And then the economics anti-IQ argument is that people actually do worse. The smarter they are, the worse they do. And it's just they don't know how to apply it, or our society doesn't know what to do with them, and they don't fit in. And so that suggests that the gating factor isn't IQ, but something that's deeply wrong with our society. So
is that a limit on intelligence, or a problem of the sort of personality types that human superintelligence creates? I mean, I'm very sympathetic to the idea, and I made this case when I did an episode of this podcast with a sort of AI accelerationist, that that certain problems can just be solved if you ramp up intelligence. It's like we ramp up intelligence and boom, Alzheimer's is solved. We ramp up intelligence and the AI can, figure out the automation process that builds you 1 billion robots overnight. I'm an intelligent skeptic in the sense I don't think. Yeah, I think you probably have limits.
It's hard to prove one way. It's always hard to prove these things, but
until we have the superintelligence.
I share your intuition, because I think we've had a lot of smart people, and things have been stuck for other reasons. And so maybe the problems are unsolvable, which is the pessimistic view. Maybe there is no cure for dementia at all, and it's a deeply unsolvable problem. There's no cure for mortality. Maybe it's an unsolvable problem. Or maybe it's these cultural things. So it's not the individually smart person, but it's how this fits into our society. Do we tolerate heterodox smart people? Maybe you need heterodox smart people to do crazy experiments, and if the AI is just conventionally smart, if we define wokeness again, wokeness is too ideological, but if you just define it as conformist, maybe that's not the kind of smartness that's going to make a difference.
So do you fear then a plausible future where AI in a way becomes itself stagnationist, that it's like highly intelligent, creative in a conformist way? It's like, the Netflix algorithm. It makes infinite okay movies that people watch. It generates infinite okay ideas. It puts a bunch of people out of work and makes them obsolete, but it doesn't, it like deepens stagnation in some way. Is that a fear? It's like people just outsource.
It's quite possible that's certainly a risk, but I guess where I end up is I still think we should be trying AI, and that the alternative is just total stagnation. So yeah, there's sort of all sorts of interesting things going to happen with maybe drones. in a military context are combined with AI, and okay, this is kind of scary or dangerous or dystopian, or it's going to change things. But if you don't have AI, wow, there's just nothing going on. And I don't know, there's like a version of this discussion on the internet where did the internet lead to more conformity and more
Right.
wokeness? And yeah, there are all sorts of ways where it didn't lead to quite the cornucopian, diverse explosion of ideas that libertarians fantasized about in 1999. But counterfactually, I would argue that it was still better than the alternative, that if we hadn't had the internet, maybe it would have been worse. AI is better. It's better than the alternative, and the alternative is nothing at all. Because here's one place where the stagnationist arguments are still reinforced. The fact that we're only talking about AI, I feel, is always an implicit acknowledgement that but for AI, we are like in almost total stagnation.
But the world of AI is clearly filled with people who, at the very least, seem to have a more utopian, transformative, whatever word you want to call it, view of the technology than you're expressing here, right? And you were mentioned earlier the idea that the modern world used to promise radical life extension and doesn't anymore. It seems very clear to me that a number of people deeply involved in artificial intelligence see it as a kind of mechanism for transhumanism, for transcendence of our mortal flesh, and either some kind of creation of a successor species or some kind of merger of mind and machine. And do you think that's just all kind of irrelevant fantasy? Or do you think it's just hype? Do you think people are trying to raise money by pretending that we're going to build a machine god, right? Is it hype? Is it delusion? Is it something you worry about? I think you would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in this.
the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so it's always, I don't know, transhumanism is this, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. And there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or I don't know, a transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your, penis into a vagina. And we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And okay, we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way, the critique Orthodox Christianity has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self. And so,
right. But the other,
where,
wait. Sorry.
That is getting extremely weird and off the rails. He starts rambling on about transsexuals and how it's not going far enough if you want to just change your penis into a vagina. He's talking about we have to transform our whole bodies and our whole souls, whatever that means. Look, man, you can have an argument on the merits of like where we're going with all this technology. Where does it lead to? How necessary is it? Like, are we just going to, if we don't continue with sort of this infinite growth curve, or like, if by definition, as humans, we need to continue growing economically, technologically, in order to not stagnate and die out, or in order to prepare for, an extinction level event like an asteroid or some kind of nuclear disaster or war, whatever it is, that in order to avoid that, you need to continue infinitely advancing And so just by going along that curve, you're eventually going to get into the realm of like, higher and higher levels of technology and AI. And of course, people are, they're talking about like uploading their consciousness or merging with robots or any of these things. I understand that that's a conversation that we have to be having, and that's just the reality of this crazy world we live in. But the fact that this guy is presented with a question, straight up, like, do you think I forget exactly what it was. You can play it back again. Do you think the human species should go on? Do you think humanity should continue? And the fact that that he takes a pause, and more than just a pause, it's like well, let me think about that. Like the fact that you're not even able to just come and say, well, of course we need, yes, that's obviously yes. And then we have to figure out how to do this in a manner, make sure that people thrive and that they have something to, jobs and comfortable income and that we don't live in some wacko dystopian society, which sounds like the people like Peter Thiel sort of envision, or it's like it's almost like implicit in what he's saying that the vast majority of humans aren't worth saving or something like. I mean, I don't want to like fully, you know, misinterpret what he's saying, but sort of reading between the lines, and these are sort of the great fears of like the conspiracy theorists, that there are these people that really want to just like merge with AI and create like these self-sustaining like utopias for themselves with all their billions and this infinite pleasure, and that they don't need the rest of us or the rest of humans to be able to do that. So that is thoroughly disturbing. It makes me think of, I don't know if you guys are a fan of like the Alien series, the Alien franchises. They have this company, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, um, which is a fictional British-Japanese multinational conglomerate in the Alien franchise, a powerful and ruthless entity known for its pursuit of profit and disregard for human life, particularly in its obsession with acquiring and exploiting alien life forms, especially xenomorphs. I mean, this is the plot of Alien. I mean, like literally, they're just writing the plot of Alien. They knew that humans had the ability to be this ruthless. These corporations can be this ruthless, is part of the reason why at least a little bit of government oversight, regulation, and dare I say, socialism. Public ownership or public oversight is actually a pretty good idea. That you have to have entities that are both responsible to themselves and to everybody, all the stakeholders involved, all the people, all the population, and not just here or in any one country, but all over the world. I don't know. Again, I don't want to fully like put words in this guy's mouth, but I don't know that Peter Thiel and his ilk feel the same way. And at least what we've been seeing so far from the Trump administration, it seems like they're doing everything they can to accelerate us towards this disturbing reality. And I'm definitely not a fan of it. Let's leave it at that. I really just hope we get people like Peter Thiel out of power as soon as possible, and bring some balance back to this conversation, because he's clearly got some twisted views on reality, that I don't trust. I don't think anybody should trust without a tremendous amount of skepticism. Like I said, let me know what you guys think about that. Curious to know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next discussion.